I'm Wayne. Like this.
How you doing?
Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, no, it's Tuesday, March 24th, 2026. This is the Boardwalk Historic Designation Task Force meeting of March 24th, meeting number 1. It's being live streamed in the Commissioner's Room, second floor, City Hall. This is a public meeting. The public's invited and will always be invited and able to participate with us. I'd like to call this meeting to order at exactly 9:03 a.m. I'm going to start off with roll call, and I'm going to call out names. If you would please raise your hand at least this first time, as well as say present or here. And I want to test our microphones. So you need to be within 2 inches of the microphone, and you need to be able to hear yourself. So this is a test, and if you fail that, the old paddle comes out. Okay. So our roll call. I'm going to start off with the voting members, and that's Heidi Nastrom Evans.
Here.
Here. Yeah, there you go. Kate McKenzie, and this is no particular order, it's just the way I've typed them in here. Kate McKenzie,
I'm here as well.
Dan Parsons,
Here.
Frank Cole,
Here.
Jim Ellison,
Here.
Wesley Combs,
Here.
Andrea Hoffman,
Here.
Wayne Neal,
Here.
Christopher Bright,
Here.
and that is the voting members. And so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got all 9 voting members here, and the importance of that is that we have a quorum and are able to formally conduct business today as a public body. With that, the non-voting members are Michael Burton
Here.
and Mason Pretty.
Here, sir.
Oh, everybody has passed the microphone test so far. But I do want to introduce Rosemarie Patton. She's right here. She is the alternate member representing the VIA. Before we go any further, I know some of you, this is the first time in this building. The restrooms are out this door all the way to the end. And you'll find men's and women's room at the end of the corridor there. This is meeting number 1, and it's intended, and thank goodness we're here. That last snow was quite a challenge, even trying to determine whether to have the meeting or not. So I appreciate your all's patience. And I know some of you all come from a long distance, so we didn't want to have any problems with the snow. So this is the new meeting number 1. It's intended to introduce ourselves and to introduce our mission. We want to introduce ourselves to the task force process. And we're going to, everybody here has a little different level of knowledge about the historic preservation process. Some have none. I have none in some areas. I have some in others, and the same with you all. So we're going to actually start with the basics and address the different levels of knowledge and get all on a level playing field over the next several meetings. With that, again, I am the chair, Mayor Stan Mills. I need to be counted in the attendees. And co-chair is Heidi Evans. Can we call you Heidi Evans, or you want Nastrom?
Heidi is fine.
Heidi, okay, Heidi, thank you. And so with that, I'm going to move on following the agenda. Excuse me. Next item on the agenda is the Freedom of Information and Ethics. And I'm not going to take time to go over that today. I just want to reiterate that it's a mandatory Freedom of Information training. If you have not already taken the training available online, then please do so. It's, I think, an hour and a half total. It's got an audio and it's got a video that accompanies it. The training session was recorded earlier and can be accessed online. If you want to take it, then let me know. It's also written in my memo to you on how to access it. Members of the public will also find this of interest, but members of the public, well, the only public we have is Commissioner Mark Saunders in the back there and Rosemary, but everybody will find, even those watching virtually, will find the little training session on FOIA very helpful. So today is a very, very brief overview of Freedom of Information rules. It's not intended to substitute for the training. And I just wanted to highlight only some of the more important components of the Freedom of Information. What I did is I put together a very quick illustration of some of the higher components of Freedom of Information for each meeting that we have. If you can see you're in bad position, but if you can see the monitors there, for each meeting we have to have an agenda. And for the agenda, the key to Freedom of Information is transparency. The key for transparency is Freedom of Information says public business must be performed in an open and public manner so that the public has the opportunity to observe the performance of public officials. So yes, you are now a public official, so you are now part of the government, hooray. And so we have certain rules that we have to follow, being a government entity there. So how do we comply with Freedom of Information to fulfill this transparency requirement? One of the things we do is start off with the agenda. Again, illustrating a few points here. The agenda has to be posted at least 7 days in advance. If you notice, the agenda has the date of today's, this is for the previous meeting. For the previous meeting that we didn't have, originally scheduled for Tuesday, February 24th, 2026, the date is listed in the agenda. But then also we have to make note that it was posted on February 17th originally. And the reason we do that is because there is a 7-day requirement for posting notices. And the reason I wanted you to know, some of us are new here, I want you to know that we can't just come up with meetings at the snap of the fingers. We've got certain requirements to follow. Now, certain people, Jim Ellison and others, are familiar with Planning Commission and agendas, so they know that. But the rest of us, I wanted to share that with you. So a 7-day minimum notice, and the agenda has to include a listing of agenda topics with some specificity in there that tells us what the topic's going to be about. And again, that's so we know, but so that the public knows what the topics are, so they can determine whether it's of interest and whether they want to show up at the meeting or not. So that has to do with old business, new business, and the other topics are all listed there. I also want to let you know that Freedom of Information actually requires public input. It doesn't say where, it doesn't say how much time, that's left up to us. And these are my own notes that I put in my agenda so that I remember to call on the public. So for each individual new business topic, I would call on the members of the public, and the rules are at the bottom of the agenda, on your agenda also. that the public's provided the opportunity to make comments regarding new business topics. When we get to the next meeting, then they would be able to speak on old business topics also. We didn't put it here just because there are no old topics. This is our first meeting. They have a 3-minute limit per topic. And then also, you notice on the agenda right here, item number 8 is citizen comment. That's really for the public to talk off topic. And again, the guideline at the bottom of the agenda, it says comments on non-agenda topics will be heard under citizen comment with the same speaker requirements of 3, identify yourself in 3 minutes. So that's just the very basics. Also wanted to say why we do roll call is because we need to make that quorum. Again, 5 voting members are required to be able to have a meeting. And that's why I try to poll everybody beforehand, because otherwise we show up here, we only get 4, then I have to send everybody home, and then everybody's mad at me, So we have to, I like to try to poll everybody so that we have a quorum. Serial meetings are not allowed, and serial meetings, I think you could read about it in your FOIA training there, but essentially this same group could not meet at Dogfish Head. I actually had a committee here once that came and had their meeting, and they said, yeah, don't you remember when we were at Dogfish Head, we agreed to do so-and-so? Oops. That's not allowed, obviously, because that group happened to have a quorum where they also needed 5. And so we have to be careful about meeting together too much and coming to agreement on topics. The whole purpose of public body meeting in a public venue is so that everybody everybody here and also members of the public can see what our thinking is and our process is. We have to take minutes of our meeting, and they're archived. And then the most important component of ethics is actually easier just to read the ethics thing. Most of it doesn't apply to us. It applies to us commissioners, Mark and me and others, more so than this committee. But I guess the best example is as commissioners, we can't accept money and fancy lunches and everything, darn it. Yeah, because that would violate the appearance of violating the code of conduct. Are there any questions on how we work this? Is if you do have a question, raise your hand, wait to be acknowledged, and then I'll call on you. Anything? All righty, thank you very much. So we're going to move on. The next bit of business here is correspondence. We have none yet, and there is no old business, as I mentioned earlier. We're going to start off with new business, A, B, C, D, and E. New business A is overview of task force charge, member makeup, and member self-introductions. So why are we here? It's a now sunset, but there was at one time a boardwalk and beach committee. And they researched and looked into historic designations. And so they made a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners recommending that we establish a task force. And the Board of Commissioners liked that idea. And that's how the task force mission was derived. The task force mission, essentially, I'm going to paraphrase it here, is that the Board of Commissioners would like for this group to seek acquiring 2 different historic designations. One would be the blue historical marker issued by the Delaware Public Archives. You see them all throughout town and throughout the state. That's one. And number 2, we're charged with seeking a designation on the National Register of Historic Places, which is administered by the National Park Service and state Preservation Office. So this mission is kind of our guiding principle throughout the process here. So what I'd like to do is call on the individual members and hear a little story about your background. I am really excited about this team here. I thought that when I lobbied and solicited applications that we would probably get 3 people, maybe with some knowledge of historic preservation, and maybe a total of 5 applications. And we got, I think, 20-some applications, and most everybody here has some kind of knowledge or thought or process, and if they don't, they'll have a lot to learn during this meeting, and they'll be able to offer a lot. Again, I'm really excited about this team. And so we're going to start with self-introductions. What are we looking for? We're going to be working together for a long while. So I'm looking to learn about you. Want some brevity, 2 or 3 minutes is fine, if you can. But want to share with everyone any experience you might have in historic preservation, or share your background. Have you served on any historic preservation committees? Which ones? Of course, we're, again, particularly interested in the National Register. We're also interested in the Delaware Public Historical Markers. What's your other related experience? Do you have research and writing and editing experience? Now understand at a later time, we'll also invite you all back up here to tell us more. For those of you that have worked on an official historic preservation group or agency, we're going to give you time later on to actually delve into that so that we can learn more about that agency from your perspective and be able to understand what the challenges are and what works and what doesn't work and how it might be applicable or not applicable to us. So we're going to start with and do a round of everybody again. We're going to start the same order as I called roll call with Heidi Evans. Heidi?
Hello. Like Mayor Mills, I'm very excited to be working with all of you. I was thrilled when Mayor Mills asked me to be his co-chair. I'm the executive director of the Rehoboth Beach Historical Society and Museum. And I'm hoping out of this whole process to get a nice exhibit for the museum. I think that would be really wonderful with all the research that we do here. This summer, just to let you know what's coming up, we have a wonderful historic maps exhibit featuring maps from the 1600s through the 1800s, showing how Delaware emerged as a state through cartography. And a little bit about my background. I did doctoral studies in American Studies with an emphasis on material culture studies and cultural landscapes. So as an intellectual exercise, I'm really excited about looking at the boardwalk as a cultural landscape. I worked on a nomination application with Reverend Janet Mull Martin and the trustees of Prospect AME Church in Georgetown, and I worked on that project with Dan Parsons, who's sitting on the left of Mayor Mills, and other people from the state as well. And that was my first experience doing a nomination application and going through that whole process, and I really loved it as an intellectual exercise and learned so much. And so I think we'll all get to do that together, and I'm looking forward to that. Thanks.
Thank you, Heidi. Next is Kate McKenzie.
Good morning. My name is Kate McKenzie, Catherine McKenzie, when my father would be angry, Catherine. But I'm here today at the invitation of Mayor Mills, as well as Rosemarie Patan, and we represent the Village Improvement Association. This is a women's club in Rehoboth, and I believe it's just about 118 years old now. And we have been doing a lot of work with the city for all that period of time. A couple of the things that we have done that is, I guess, the main reason that Mayor has asked us to be a part of this is we have 5 historical markers related to the activities and things that the VIA, the Village Improvement Association, has done. So in that, if you go into the main hall downstairs and you look at that mural that's on the wall, and if you look really closely, that's where you'll see the safety line that is one of the historical markers that's down on the boardwalk. That was something that we developed because the little old ladies at the time, or young ladies, that wore their wool bathing suit couldn't get out of the water. So this is one of the crazy things that we have done over the years to help. Most recently, we've worked very closely with Mayor and all of his staff with the Children's Fishing Pier, which is another one of our plaques. So that's going to be happening, I hope, pretty soon. We've had a little delay from time to time. But that's the main reason that we are here today and representing, because we have the history of what we've done working to get 5 plaques, 5 historical markers. A little bit about me. I have a healthcare background. I have been president of the Village Improvement Association. I've been president of Susan G. Komen Philadelphia. I've been president of Westside Health Services in Wilmington as well. I have done work at Christiana Care for a number of years with healthcare, where I worked very closely with state organizations. And I moved on to AstraZeneca, and I did some international work with education. I also did some grant writing. So I've got a little bit of background of all those things, too.
Very good. Thank you, Kate. And by the way, the mural she's referring to is in the front of the building, close entrance closest to the street there. And it's about 8 by 10. It's monstrous. Rosemary, would you like to add anything about yourself? Because why don't you sit at this chair right here and give us a
brief
because we may
synopsis
be
of why I'm
working
here.
with you independent of her. If how this works, that if Kate can't show up, then Rosemary takes her place and vice versa, so that we always have a rep here from the VIA. But only one of them counts. One of them votes, if you will. So,
Thank you, Mayor. Again, my name is Rosemary Potan. I've been a resident of Rehoboth since 2002. My uncle, Michael D. Fior, was the alderman here for a long time. And that's one of the reasons why we ended up coming here. I, too, have a medical background. I'm a nurse. I have a master's degree in nursing and administration, and then I have a master's in theology. I am a history buff. I was also the vice president, or the president of the Village Improvement Association. And when I was part of the board at the Art League. And I was responsible for reaching out for a number of the markers that we sponsored that were close to the VIA's heart. So we have a VIA plaque. We started in 1909. We did the library, 1912. They have a plaque. We did the surf line. We did the Children's Pier on the Lake Gerard. So I have experience with that, but also I enjoy being part of the community that I live in and want to make sure that everybody realizes what a wonderful opportunity it is to live here.
thank you, Rosemary. With that, we're going to move to Dan Parsons.
Good morning. I just want to
There you go, perfect.
I'm honored to be a part of the committee. I've been the historic preservation planner for Sussex County since 2007, and I served on the State Review Board for Historic Preservation from 2015 to 20, and I've worked on numerous National Register nominations. My first was Macaulay's Chapel out on 113 Redden Forest. I started doing oral histories with National Register nominations, and that's kind of, I was a folklorist for Eastern Shore, Maryland in my first career before I came here, and did oral histories and exhibits with those. So I'd like to do oral histories as part of the nomination process with all the tradition builders and storytellers in the community, first responders, et cetera. And I've been talking with the National Trust for Historic Preservation. They have a grant deadline June 1st for planning and education for projects, and I think this would be a good fit for that grant. And they have a fund just for Sussex County, and no one's tapped it for 10 years. So we should start tapping this fund. Again, I think this would be a great project. And the Delaware Preservation Fund as well. I think you can get funding to help with the process from them. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Frank Cole?
I'm Frank Cole. As many of you know, I own some bicycle shops in town on the boardwalk, near the boardwalk. So I've done that most of my life. In addition to that, I'm an amateur historian. I've always loved history. My high school history teacher is Michael Morgan, who I just heard one of his spots on the radio on the way over. He does the lore of Delmarva, and you'll see his pieces in the Cape Gazette, well-known author, so he was a big influence on me. In my younger days, I did legislative policy proposals. In the past, I've served on the Beach and Boardwalk Committee, so I'm very familiar with the origins of this historic designation task force and a few other committees, and just really looking forward to working with all of you.
Thank you. Yeah, the selection group or panel for looking at the applications and choosing who we wanted to recommend for membership included myself and Heidi and the city manager. So everybody had a particular reason that we chose you. And one of the reasons we wanted Frank is because he had a business on the boardwalk. And we wanted him to be able to represent not only businesses on the boardwalk, but also residences on the boardwalk. And the reason why we'll get into in a couple meetings is because we've had a few people stood up and were very negative about historic designations, especially for those that had businesses or houses or properties on the boardwalk, that the only reason to do historical designations is to put restrictions on what you can and can't do and everything. So anyhow, at some point, we are going to address the pros and the cons of historical designations and see how to, if they're valid or not, and also see how to remediate them if they are valid. But that's one of the reasons Frank's on board there. Jim Ellison.
I'm also very happy to be on this task force. I was on the Planning Commission, and when I learned that this was an opportunity, I called our mayor and I said, look, let me make a deal with you. I would like to be on the task force. Can you find a replacement for me on the Planning Commission? So that's part of the way this came about. But I am an architect. I'm a fellow of the American Institute of Architects. My wife and I have lived here since both of us formally retired, since about 2004. In D.C., we lived on Capitol Hill the entire time. We were there since 1968. And so we were in a historic district, and they were very strict, and it was quite something to participate in all of that. I also served as assistant architect at the Capitol during the last part of my career for about 11 years. And the architect of the Capitol, that office, is responsible as a steward of all of the wonderful and historic buildings on Capitol Hill, including the House and Senate office buildings, the Capitol itself, the Library of Congress, and so on. So a lot of experience there dealing with, historical features of the buildings as we necessarily had to update their systems and so forth. Here, I have been on the Board of Trustees of the Rehoboth Art League, and these ladies, the VIA has been a wonderful partner to the Rehoboth Art League. When I was chairman of the board, I initiated what we call a historic campus preservation plan. It is a wonderful campus, and we have been busy working on that. Obviously, funding is always an issue, but we are making progress, and although I'm off the board at this point, I'm still very much involved in that campus plan. In Rehoboth itself, I've been on many task forces and committees. The Architectural Review Task Force back in about 07, 08. Stan was a part of that as well. Another was the City Hall Task Force by former Mayor Sam. And Wayne was also on that, as was the mayor here. And of course, that resulted in the building that we're meeting in. And as I mentioned, the Planning Commission, I've been on that about 5 or 6 years. And we were involved in attempting to deal with the issue of 2 major new hotels at the intersection of Rehoboth Avenue and the Boardwalk. Perhaps the most important, though, to this task is that I was on the State Historic Preservation Review Board for a total of 6 years, I think 2 or 3 of which I was chairman. And that, of course, is a very important body. We review every nomination for listing on the National Register that come from within the state of Delaware. Dan Parsons was overlapping with me a little bit on that assignment, but a lot of very valuable experience there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Wes Combs.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also am very honored to be selected to be on this committee. I have been coming to Rehoboth for 38 years. I've been a homeowner for 27 years. Met my husband, now husband, 37 years ago here. And Rehoboth is a big part of my life. We are now full-time residents of Rehoboth since 2021. Previously calling Washington, D.C., lived in Adams Morgan in a home that had historic restrictions. So I am familiar with the restrictions part of what one can do, but it preserves the beauty of the home. My background professionally is I'm a diversity management consultant and have extensive experience with, I am not a preservation expert, that's what all of you are. I think my background from being a management consultant and having expertise in writing business cases, engaging with the government in how to make the appropriate business cases, advocate on behalf of whatever the cause. I've done extensive advocacy and lobbying work. I had served on the board of Camp Rehoboth I just stepped off the board for 6 years, being the board chair for 3 years, and have developed extensive relationships with all of our leadership, and from the governor to the lieutenant governor to our representatives here in this House and the Senate, as well as our federal legislators. So have good relationships to understand how the government here works, and that is always important in navigating any official activity. I also serve on the board of advisors for WAMU, which is NPR station in DC, and we too have challenges with seeking support from the government for funding in general, but in advocating. So we have had a lot of experience understanding how to advocate. The message is critically important in how you seek any support for anything. So understanding what the message is here and what's important will be part of how successful we are in seeking the designations.
Very good. Thank you, Wes. Andrea?
Hi, I'm Andrea Hoffman. My husband and I have been in Rehoboth since 1979. We had a group house through the 80s, and we wrecked everything by buying our own house in the 90s. Lots and lots of changes I've seen, but I have been involved in trees with the city for a number of years. I am Miss Arbor Day, and now serve on the Environmental Committee as well as this. My entire life, I think, has been bookended by historic preservation. My first two jobs out of college, one I worked for an organization was located in Boston, but it owned and operated 24 house museums throughout New England. And I worked with the curator doing oral histories on many of the furnishings that the folks who had donated the homes had collected, tracing down provenance and doing a fair amount of writing. After that, I got involved with my own hometown of Lowell, Massachusetts, an old textile mill town, which has the distinction of being the first planned industrial community in the United States. A group of very wealthy Boston aristocrats, people with names like Abbott and Lowell, decided that Lowell, Massachusetts was the perfect place to set up a mill community to manufacture textiles. So they built a system of canals and locks, but they went beyond that. By 1826, there were actually 6 textile mills. These wealthy Bostonians decided that in addition to the mills and in addition to the canals, they were going to build housing and churches for the people that were going to work there. I was lucky enough to work on the National Register application for the city of Lowell, Massachusetts, which ultimately became an urban national park and is now operated by the Park Service in conjunction with the city of Lowell and private organizations, as well as people that own the properties themselves. It was a huge undertaking, and I was very, very lucky to be a part of it. In my retirement, I've had quite a bit of museum exposure. I worked for the Ford's Theater. I worked with the curator, doing a lot of research on things that were lying around in, I don't know how many of you have ever visited the museum, but we had an enormous store of artifacts that had never been on display that were just lying around. And I did a fair amount of work on tracking down where they came from, who they came from, and we had to decide whether to put them on exhibit or not. I also worked at the Holocaust Museum, again with the curator, and that was, again, cataloging and describing items that were about to go on display. So I am delighted and really excited. I am one of 3 people who raised this issue pre-COVID. I was very interested in doing this back in 2000. Jim, when was it that we met? 2018, 19?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either, but there were 3 of us that actually got in touch with Delaware and said, could we invite you down to look at the boardwalk? And
we did get somebody down here. And I think she was, she basically said, go for it. And then COVID came, so we dropped it. But I'm delighted that we're back at this. So looking forward to working with all of you.
Thank you, Andrea. Wayne?
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here amongst so many distinguished people. I am a registered architect. I went to the University of Maryland. I was quite fortunate in my last year there to have been have an instructor, Dr. Charles W. Moore, a noted postmodernist architect. In other words, he wasn't in favor of the glass high-rise. He was in favor of architecture that fit into the towns and cities. And he took my class along with Dean John Hill to Europe, and we toured all the major cities and places and public squares of Europe and the Mediterranean in the summertime. And so it was easy to learn in college with a trip like that. After college, soon after, I went to work in Old Town, Alexandria, because it has that urban development, historic character that I'd become familiar with. And I practiced there until I retired about 11 years ago. During that period, what I found out was Alexandria was the second oldest historic district in the United States. And I'm not remembering the year exactly, but I think it was 1956. I practiced there doing architecture in just about every block of Old Town, and my firm designed 3 whole city blocks in the Old Town area, compatible with the old and historic architecture. I was asked to serve on the Board of Architectural Review, and I served 3 terms there, total of 9 years, again, before I retired. In 1988, I bought a property here and was trying to figure out how to do a economical second home for myself. And after doing some research, what I came up with was a custom design modular home. And Nanticoke Homes was a prominent prefab builder here. And they were able to accommodate my desires and budget for that property. And so I built this house at 46 Sussex Street. You might know it. It's the one that has the 4 big columns on the front and the half-moon porch above. And I say that because many people approached me after that and purchased the plans for repeating that house. And so there's about a dozen of them now scattered around the city. There's Scarborough Avenue, 2 on Munson, 1 on Delaware, 1 on Henlopen, and probably a few I don't remember. There's a couple in Lewis. So I'm proud of that because when I was younger and came to Rehoboth, the way I looked at it was as a historic shingle-style community, meaning it was developed in the Victorian period of the United States. And so the house design is predominantly of that era and style, and is intended to fit into the historic fabric of Rehoboth. We've lived there again since about 1990 and have enjoyed every summer ever since. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Christopher Bright.
That's me. Hi. Delighted to be, with everyone this morning. I am a historian by training. I specialize in 20th century United States. Among other things, I teach at George Washington University, and I have helped write and research and erect a couple of historic markers in Virginia. I also am working and have worked in the past with several businesses who have commemorated their business with lobby displays or commemorative displays of one sort or another. Deeply committed to the city. We have been a part-time or three-quarters time resident of Rehoboth for about 10 years. And so committed, in fact, that my son just retired after 4 years on the beach patrol as a sergeant. So we are deeply committed to the city and its future. Delighted to be here. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Christopher. That closes out the voting members. Now we're going to go to the non-voting members. Michael, we'll start with you. Make sure you bring that microphone to within 2.2 inches
Yes,
from
sir.
your mouth.
I'm delighted to be here as well. My name is Mike Burton. I'm a resident of the RBCC, and I own a firm in Baltimore, Maryland. Our firm specializes in historic preservation throughout the country. We have done designations for districts, buildings, properties. Very extensive experience in historic preservation. That's kind of my forte. I've been on the board as a member for Fells Point and Federal Hill Historic Preservation, as well as I've been the design chair for Federal Hill Main Streets in the past. Currently, I'm on the board at Virginia Tech for the Firm Advisory Board for the School of Architecture. I went to school in Old Town, right? Love Old Town. Old Town's great. And so.
I renovated that school in
Did you
the
really?
1980s. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it? And so I'm really delighted to be here. I have a lot of experience that I think I can share with this group and try to help you out.
Thank you. Mason Pretty.
Good morning. My name is Mason Preddy. It's great to be here with all of you all and quite an honor. And wow, what a background you all have. It's very impressive and exciting. My background is in healthcare. I'm an entrepreneur and an author. I've just published my second book. And I live between here and DC and was involved back in 2013 in getting Tiber Island Cooperative Homes, which is down in the water in Southwest DC, designated for the National Register for Historic Places. We had already been designated through the District of Columbia, which would be similar to the state blue sign here. But I'm excited to be here, and it's an honor, and looking forward to working with all of you.
Very good. And again, they're non-voting members because they live outside the city limits of Rehoboth Beach, and we wanted to have them on board. So that leaves the committee chair. I'm Stan Mills, obviously, the mayor. I've been mayor for 5.5 years. I was a commissioner for 12 years before that. As Jim mentioned, I was on the Architectural Review Board Task Force that I don't ever remember dates. You said 2007 or 8 maybe. I thought it was a wonderful product. And unfortunately, the attitude, I guess, among the commissioners at that time was that it would just be an optional thing to show to the builders and property owners, and nothing mandatory in it. But we did a lot of work on that, and I'm very proud of that. I also chaired the original Boardwalk Committee, which was started 2005 or so. The original one came about right as we were deciding to rebuild the boardwalk. And the boardwalk at that time was deteriorating, and they were putting new decking on it. The new decking, they were only putting the new decking on top, none of the substructure. And I thought that was wrong, so we put a stop to that and actually started designs to rebuild it. And the timing was perfect because the ARPA funds came out. If you remember, there was a time when they were trying to boost the economy, and you had to have shovel-ready projects. Well, we had just completed phase 1 of reconstruction. We were going to do it over 7 years by ourselves, self-funded. And then the ARPA funds came along. We were shovel-ready because we had already built it. We had designs. We were able to quickly get the design for the rest of it, and that allowed us to rebuild the entirety of the boardwalk from the ground up in just a 2-year time instead of a 7-year time period. So that was pretty exciting. And at that time, the boardwalk committee made a lot of decisions on the style of the lighting and things like that. Other technical decisions about the type of this and that were made by the mayor and myself at that time. And I've got some pictures in my next slideshow that'll show you what we did when we rebuilt it. So my knowledge, I'm very familiar with the Delaware blue markers and the application process. I think it's only 2 pages or something long. It seems to be fairly simple. And I don't know anything about the National Register, so I'm anxious to learn more from this group about that and what it takes and how it's different application process than the Delaware state. So I'm looking forward to that. With that, that concludes our little self-introductions. Again, later on, meetings number 2, 3, and 4, we'll get into more personal perspectives and more in-depth expansion of your perspective from your agencies that you worked with. Again, I'm very excited about working together all this. It's even more impressive hearing from you in person than just reading your application. So that's very good. With that, I'm going to move on to our next agenda item. Does anybody want to do a follow-up on your speech? Did you think of anything you left out? Okay, if not, we're going to move right on to the slideshow. The slideshow is a presentation of the abbreviated, and I'd say it's a very abbreviated history. This is consisting mainly of photos that I've taken or, well, actually, the ones of the 1900 I did not take, but I got those somewhere, okay? But the intention of this slideshow is in part to illustrate these different components, the different boardwalks all over the years, storm damage, caused repair and reconstruction. And with that, there were a variety of boardwalk footprints that came about, different construction methods, different construction materials. The access to the beach and the beach contours changed over the years, as did amenities and activities. My disclaimer is that all the content in here, if anybody were to use this in the future, they would need to verify the content, including attributions and dates and everything, because there are some problems. Some don't even have dates on them. And I did this years ago, I guess, and didn't do a thorough job, not intending to show it to this group. But, and as well, not all slides are in proper chronological order. So, and again, some photos are updated. If you have any questions specific to a slide, feel free to bring it up. If there's a generic question, maybe make a note and we'll get to it at the end there. This is just, you have this packet embedded. Except I gave you the postage stamp view. If anybody wants this in full size, let me know and I can send it to you. But I think the important thing here is that the first boardwalk was built in 1873. Interestingly, it was about 300 feet long. So it was less than a mile, made from 8-foot planks. Then obviously there was some kind of destruction here, probably a weather event, and it was rebuilt and it was expanded to 1.25 miles. Well, the current boardwalk's only a mile, so I find that interesting that now all of a sudden it was rebuilt to 1.25 miles. And I don't know, the attribution for this is Google AI. I don't know if you're supposed to tell people where you get these things off of chatbots or whatever. Nowadays, this new. Then Horns Pavilion opened up, another storm, another hurricane. The Ash Wednesday storm, which was the storm of '62, decimated the boardwalk and oceanfront buildings. In closer to our contemporary times, 1998, 98, two major nor'easters occurred 1 weekend apart and did a lot of damage. Some more damage. There's a theme here: damage, rebuild, damage, rebuild. The Mother's Day storm, nor'easter produced major flooding and erosion and some damage, not total destruction. Hurricane Sandy, you know, boy, were we lucky. You know, the eye of that, I think, is only 30 miles northeast of us. 30 miles, and it could have gotten us. And so we had damage, but not near the severity of those in New Jersey and New York. Then we had, winter storm Jonas in 2016. In 2022, the storm with minimal erosions and structural damage. Again, attribution unknown here, AI elsewhere, and then the News Journal up here. So this. I don't know where this follows chronologically. Again, that's come back to my disclaimer, but it certainly looked like one of the oldest pictures that we've seen. And the things that I mentioned earlier in the slides, I'm going to point out here for comparison to all the other slides coming up. And that is, look at the width of the beach. Now, we don't know whether that's high tide or low tide, but make a guess or whatever for comparison. Look at the elevation of the sand where it reaches the boardwalk and what the elevation of the boardwalk is. It looks like they almost are equal elevation here. Look at the width of the boardwalk. Look at the what's on the westerly side of the boardwalk. You've got buildings there, but you've also got it, apparently it's all filled in with wood structure there. And look at what they're all wearing. They're, I think you might call their Sunday finest, if you will. Telephone poles, I don't know what this wire would be here, goodness. It must be going to a pier out here or something. I don't think there's a need to electrify the water otherwise. So here's a slide here coming up. Now, note that it says mid-1900s. Again, this is a little different than the previous one. It has a different width of beach. It has a structure on the westerly ocean side of the beach. It's got the boardwalk here. But then look, it appears that the buildings are farther back, farther westerly. And it's got a grassy area. It's got a fairly wide dirt road, but then it has what appears to be another small, wide wood boardwalk there. One reason I wanted to point out this is the date. This is the mid-1900s and courtesy of Alan Broadbent. If you look at the next one, it's virtually the same. It's just a little well, it is the same, but look how it's dated 1906, and it's also given the attribute to Denrec Photo. Again, come back to my disclaimer that these things need to be researched if we were ever going to use some of these photographs there. This is a different photograph. Remember, these two appear to be the same. This one appears to be a little different. At a later date, it has a sand fence here. It has some damage or something to whatever this is. It has a higher elevation is where this was taken at, and a narrower road here. But they're also, again, in their Sunday finest. This is just a highlight that there were, back then, there were structures on the ocean side of the boardwalk. But also, look, compare this to the last one. You've got the boardwalk here. You've got another grassy area. You've got a much narrower single-lane road here, and very few buildings actually abutting the east side of the boardwalk. Now this one is for the Delaware Public Archives. I think they have most of their photographs dated. They have little codes or something, so you got to try to figure that out or ask them. But look again, compare the width here. The water's about right here. The surf line, I believe, Kate, I believe that's what they're lined up here for. I've always visioned the surf line in that area there. But look at the difference in elevations from the sand to the boardwalk there. One time, Tom Eibach of Dolly's told me there used to be showers underneath the boardwalk. And if you look at all the other slides, if they did, I don't doubt them, but if they did, it had to have been some long enough ago where you could actually walk under there, because if you look at some of the other photographs that are more contemporary, before the dunes were put in place, it looked like it was chest height underneath there. So again, the different lighting fixtures, the railings, the benches, the little structures on the boardwalk are all for comparison's sake. And here's one, I don't even know where some of these things are, but let me look at, no. I'm looking at here, there's another structure that has flags on it that I was comparing to this. So you've got that, you've got this. I can't tell whether this building is part of this, but I think this is a pier up here that's empty and void of a building, and this is in the background, I think, I don't know. But again, look at the height differential here. That's just nomenclature. And again, look, I think this might be Rehoboth Avenue, I don't know, but here's the two pavilions. These two things seem to have disappeared, but here's the pier here, a pier. I think that might be the Henlopen up there. Again, this is so exciting to me. I've always wanted to rebuild a pier there or something, And look, there's history that shows that we've had it, right? Look at that. Okay, here's a similar structure with all the flags on it, whatever that means. And then here's a separate pier. Here's the width of the beach seems a little wider, but again, this could be low tide. The other picture could be high tide. Here's different railings that we have, and the different light fixtures that we have, and the wood. Then we go, what is that? Orange this is a Cape Gazette article dated October 7th, 2025. So they had a picture of this recently, but it's showing that that all of this was stormed, received storm damage in the 1914 storm. 1950s, again, now we've got combined railings and benches, and you've got, looks like maybe a wider beach. You've got clothes from the 50s. This is certainly a different set of clothes from the Sunday Finest, isn't it? This I thought was interesting. It's a postcard, so maybe this has a picture on it. So this is probably, well, it says 1950s. Riding bikes is showing activity and what are the different activities that happen on it. It shows the staircase going down, the railings going out to the pier here, different seating arrangement. Here's that Women's Christian Temperance Union fountain. That's been there since the 50s. I don't know the date on that thing, but, and then here's some light fixtures. Not too much different than what we have today, but you see the different Dolly's building there. And then we've got a little different setup here, undated. We've got, this is the Bellhaven Hotel. And interesting, there's no date on here, but you can see they are a little different. Maybe this is a Sunday finery at that point. But then I don't know if that date is the same as this, because this, I date late 20s, early 30s because of the cars. Now we move on to 1961. One of the reasons I wanted to show this is, again, the different benches. There are no benches out here, just a different layout. But one of the things I wanted to show you and remind, I don't know, who remembers the concrete portion at the end of Rehoboth Avenue? Anybody? Yeah, that's older folks. At least me, I'm the older folk. But here, they apparently used to have dances on the concrete down here, and so that was a little contentious when we started redesigning the boardwalk. Decided, are we going to keep that concrete or are we going to take it out? You know, it's concrete. It's has maybe better storm survivability than the wood. Yes, Andrew.
You know, I grew up in New England, and we put concrete, our beaches are concrete. They're not wood.
Is that
This is right. Is there anyone else from New England?
You said beaches are concrete.
Well,
boardwalk.
Boardwalks.
Boardwalk,
Our boardwalks,
okay.
yes.
Yeah.
When I said, yes, when we walk on, you know, beside the ocean, it's concrete.
Well, when I for the boardwalk reconstruction, when we were designing it, Jay Legree and I, in fact, toured 19 New Jersey boardwalk towns, and you're right. There's they have asphalt boardwalk, they have concrete paver boardwalk, they have concrete boardwalk, they have. And of course they do have wood, yeah. So that was a dance pad here, but look up here. This jog here, if we're looking at the footprint, this jog here is about Baltimore Avenue. If you recall, right now it actually comes down here all the way to Maryland Avenue, and then the jog goes in. So the footprint is changing here and there over the years. Notice there's quite a differential between the elevation here and there, and that's why there's all these staircases that we had really up until 2005 or so, when we had started to have beach nourishment done. Again, look at this. It doesn't look to me like you could have showers underneath there, you know. So the contours are changing, the elevations are changing. Here's the concrete end of Rehoboth Avenue again. This is just to show you how dense it was, and again, the concrete or the staircases. This looks like they've already extended that jog to Maryland Avenue, Boardwalk Plaza Hotel. But again, this shape here has changed over the years. This is, we should be able to find out the year of this, but this is the first year, one of the early years where they were doing, well, it was the first year they were doing beach nourishment. So they've already had the dunes in the south, and the concrete's still there. So this is not redoing the boardwalk. This was maybe 5-10 years earlier when they were redoing the first nourishment. And then the result of the conclusion of this is that the dunes were added all the way up the entirety of the boardwalk. I'd wanted to show you some of the storm damage photograph. I don't know the date of this. But at the end of Rehoboth Avenue, there's the concrete there, seemed to survive. This is the bandstand up here, seemed to survive. The bandstand, if you recall, was more of a concrete platform with a concrete backing. Reconstruction after the storm of '62. I wanted to take a look at the construction materials, construction methodology. Here they had wood beams. They had wood pilings, telephone poles we call them, and then wood braces. They have telephone poles here. If you, those of us that might remember, they had telephone poles with the little street lights, the little gooseneck street lights there and everything. And this is, believe it or not, this is also later in that same year, circa 62, when they decided to rebuild it. And they just got onto it as quickly as they can. The elevation between the sand and the boardwalk is it's not equal, but it looks like it's minimal compared to what it was in the 1900s. But again, it's all wood here. Then come Winter Storm Jonas, jumping ahead a little bit. The destructive power of waves and the beneficial value of the wide sandy beaches and the dunes. And does anybody know what's missing from this picture?
The VIA.
Well, you're over here. You're over here.
Missing.
The dunes are gone. The dunes are gone in entirety. And the reason we need the dunes there in the wide beach, of course, is to dampen the wave energy and reduce it. And what would happen, if you recall, if there were the dunes here, envision the wave energy. It would come up here, maybe hit the toe of the dune, and then bounce back. And it would do that for a while. And then if the storm was fairly severe, then the wave action would go up and over the dune and across the top of the boardwalk and hit the storefront. And then at some point, the dune will have eroded so much that the water goes underneath, because the dune is now gone. It goes underneath and goes all the way up to the back and bounces back. Well, the wave energy pushes the boardwalk up in the air until you've got more damage and everything. So these are just some other thing. Here's all the sand up on the boardwalk. Whoop. All the sand on the boardwalk down in the south side. So just a little trip down memory lane before the first nourishment and the boardwalk reconstruction. Again, well, here's our style of the gooseneck lamps and the concrete here. Where the Dolly sign. There's a really good picture of the staircases on showing the disparity in elevation between the boardwalk and the sand. Again, everything wood at this one time, wood pilings, telephone poles, wood. One thing we discovered when we were redoing just the wood, if you recall, I mentioned the wood decking, we were just doing that with ignoring the structure. And then we realized that these joists were not even strong enough to hold any of the trucks we were putting on it. So we stopped putting the trucks on it and using smaller pickup trucks for a year or so. But of course, the problems with the wood is creosote doesn't last forever. People think they do. And it just show you that as they tore it apart, we saw that our timing, I think, was perfect. Reconstructing the boardwalk, again, we did it in a 2-year period. The first phase was maybe a sixth of it that I'm guessing a sixth of it that we self-financed. And then the other 5/6 was financed by ARPA funds and completed in 2 years. So here's tearing it down. Remember, we tore it down all the way to the ground so that there was nothing but dirt. And we started over again. So the important note is that nothing was reused when we rebuilt this. This is just the south side here only. This is orange pieces are marking where the pier pilings would go. They would take this machine and they would dig down in there I don't know, I'll have to find some dimensions and share with you. I think it was 28 feet or so.
Mr. Mayor, what are the reconstructed pilings? Are they concrete or are they timber?
I'll get to them.
Okay, excuse me.
Right, there you go.
There we go.
Okay, so this is the new piling, if you will. And it's got a steel cage inside, so it's reinforced concrete. These are the concrete poured in place beams instead of those wood ones. And I'm hoping this board lasts a long time, you know. And this is, I think this is the entry at Queen Street, where you're driving on, so they had to make it strong enough to hold the trash trucks. There's the beam. They're not actually sitting on the sand. It's an illusion. They're sitting on those pilings, and the sand just happens to fill in between there. Now you're starting to see, here's the concrete beam, but you're starting to see the wood beams on top. And this shows you a good example of, for the first time ever, we designed this boardwalk to be able to accommodate more weight than ever before. And particularly the smallest fire truck, we said we wanted to be able to go on there. So anywhere it has this diagonal or chevron pattern is the drive lane for a fire truck. And because it accommodated extra weight, we had beefed up the understructure of the boardwalk. Can you see that these, instead of those 2x that are 24 inches apart, now they're 4x, maybe 4x12s and 3x12s. And they're more frequent under the heavy weight than they are. This is where the drive lane is here for the fire truck. And then as it gets down to the end there, remember this boardwalk changes footprint. Then the truck would come over here and then continue on the north. So that's why this is a lesser weight rating. So here's that jog. And these are the platforms for the lights. Ribbon cutting in 2010. Let's see. So we used Southern Yellow Pine after we looked at all these different products. There's another longer story. Here is just reminding us about the travel lane for the fire truck or for heavy truck. Remember, we don't try to put the heavy trash trucks on anymore. We use smaller trucks. And I forgot about this, but back in '61, up until the early '90s, I think, the north section actually did have chevron patterns. So we weren't doing anything new. We were kind of copycats. And that had nothing to do with weight distribution. It just was a decorative element that they did back in 1961. Beach nourishment, I just threw this in. I don't know that it has anything to do with historic preservation whatsoever, but here's the dredge out there pushing sand up onto the beach that's then distributed in the different areas there. And then, of course, it created a template for the dunes, and we had to add the dune crossings. And you can see the beach is nice and wide immediately after replenishment anyhow. So after the first nourishment, this is what it looked like. It started, remember, this looks sparse, so that was the old existing dunes. So from here north is all new. And again, you can see the width of the beach here. The width of the beach in the south is always wider than up here. And apparently that's because the the boardwalk itself is not parallel to the ocean. It's actually skewed, so it's pointing up here, and eventually, if you draw a line there, it comes out onto the Route 1 and Dewey. So, so that's why there's always a disparity in the width of the beach. And again, here's that travel lane for the fire truck, and then here's a transition where it has to come over here and then up here. But you can see the different light poles, benches. Here, very luxuriant dunes that have grown up. The difference in the lighting, remember this is before boardwalk reconstruction, so it's the gooseneck lights, and here the same thing. And interestingly, the lights were, and then here's recreation lights. They were all made so that they hung over the ocean side of the boardwalk back then. And that allowed the recreation department to have recreation. Do you remember there used to be volleyball, nighttime volleyball and everything? Well, now what we do is we have lighted dunes. And they've had to give up volleyball because it's too far oceanside that the lights just don't reach that far. Almost done. In terms of the amenities and a comparison, there's just some pavilions on the west side of the boardwalk. This is the south side of the boardwalk. You can see the light fixtures. Again, look at the style of light fixtures, the style of bench, the style of trash cans. Here's those old-fashioned gooseneck lamps. Here's some old postcards. Look at this. It says 1950s, and it shows the lights off. And then this shows actually it's 1956, more specific, and it shows the lights on at nighttime scene. Again, more amenities, just bike racks, historical markers, rusty in need of maintenance, water fountains. This is an anomaly. It's down at maybe Norfolk at the boardwalk. It got put in. The city doesn't permit these things. They're through the Department of Natural Resources. And they got put in somehow, and DENREC just left it alone. So nobody else can seek permission and receive permission to do it. And a lot of people say, well, gosh, it looks out of place, you know, it's all plastic. DENREC likes the sand fencing, and they like the metal poles that hold it up. Of course, this is new. Activities, jogging, biking, Sea Witch, Easter Promenade back in the 1950s. So again, that's the end. Remember the disclaimers, all content to be verified, et cetera, et cetera. So again, for comparison purposes there. Are there any questions?
I have a question. It has to do with an overall scope. Are we confining our analysis just to the boardwalk? And what would the, if not, what would the perimeter limits be of what we're examining?
We're going to get into that in the future meetings,
Okay.
but it would be, yes, it would be limited to the boardwalk. Remember, our charge from the Board of Commissioners is just twofold. Seek historic designation through the Delaware Public Archives, those blue signs, and then seek National Register. If we found out there was a different or a better recognition or something like that, then we could certainly perhaps pursue that, but I'd need to run it by the commissioners first and everything. Are there any comments on the slides? Yes, ma'am.
That building that was out on the beach in the early 20th century photos, I learned from Paul Lovett, who's a town historian, that's Hill's bathhouse, and people could go there to change out of their wool bathing suits after they got wet and hot, and they could freshen up in there and put back on their nice clothes.
Very good.
Stan,
Wesley?
I'm curious, was the museum involved in identifying or finding any photos, or are there more photos that we don't know about that are in the archives of the museum that might provide us more accurate dates, perhaps, to some of the photos?
All these photos here I got from online, I believe.
Sorry, but I was asking.
And including online, the Delaware Public Archives themselves. Those were sweet to find because I could send them a number, a serial number, and they could date them and place them for me. The ones they could.
So as an add-on to that, though, are there others that we don't know about maybe that might?
Yes, certainly. For example, we just received a collection of historic photos this past year from Judge Jim Horn. His family photograph collection, his grandfather, Charles S. Horn, was an avid photographer, and there are tons of photographs from the late 19th century through the 1970s of Rehoboth, which are wonderful and showed the beach. So there's other photographs too, but this was very well illustrated to give us an overview of what the boardwalk has looked like over the years. So thank you, Mayor Mills, and thank you, Mr. Combs, for your question.
Anything else? If you don't mind, I'm going to take things out of order a little bit. I'd like to talk about scheduling our next meetings. I wanted to share with you that our meeting parameters, I thought that it might be prudent to meet once a month, and then at the appropriate time changing to a varied schedule, such as every other month or so. What I'd like to do is this, and I've shared this with you before in writing, I believe. I'd like to establish the fourth Tuesday of the month as a standard meeting date, understanding that some asked if we could change it to Monday or there are different dates. We've got all these other groups vying for these dates, so I'm limited in what I can do. So Tuesday seems to be the best opportunity. The meeting venue, of course, is this room. Meetings are in person. Somebody asked about virtual meeting, and it's being tried in one committee. I personally don't like them, but we'll see how it works in this committee because when the screen gets fuzzy, you don't know what to do with the person that's on Zoom. And anyhow, there's just reasons not to do it, so I prefer to keep our meetings in person. We're working on a draft outline for future meetings. What I'd like to do is for the second meeting number 2, is focus on the Delaware Public Archives blue historical marker signs, so we can learn all about that and ask questions. Talk about that. And then meeting number 3, I'd like for us to be introduced to the National Register of Historic Places. Again, so by the end of that meeting, we will all be on a level playing field somewhat to have an understanding of what that one is about and what's involved in it. And then meeting number 4, get into more of an in-depth discussion of the path forward for each of those. So it's a kind of a slow start, but it was try to get us all on an even keel there, if you will. So I'm looking at meeting number 2 for April 28th at 9 a.m. I'm looking at the meeting number 3, May 26th. And so what I'll have to do is I'll send you all a note to poll you all and see who can make it and who can't. Sometimes the Memorial Day weekend messes things up. But that would be May 26th, the day after Memorial Day, and then June 23rd would be first, second, third, fourth meeting. And then by then, we'll have a conversation on where we want to go. If we want to take a month off, or go ahead and meet and then take a month off, or every third month or something. It all depends on where we're going, but we'll keep it up for you all. What else do we have here today? In terms of homework, it's probably easiest for me to send out a memo to you with the web links for the Delaware Public Archives, et cetera, so that we know what we're looking for. And in fact, we have a historical marker at Poodle Beach that we're working on an installation day. And it's either sometime between spring and June will be done. I've got would you like to do your? You want to do this or pass on it till next time? We're going to get out of here by.
What time do we want to end the meeting?
Well, I'm sure everybody likes sooner than later, but I put an end time of 11.
Do we have the handout?
Huh?
Do we have the handout, or would we
Oh, yeah,
just do it?
I do, actually.
So Mayor Mills and I put together a exercise for us to do some thinking about the historical significance of the boardwalk, just based on what we know. And so we're handing out a worksheet that we put together. And I guess what we can do is each take about 5 minutes to answer the 2 questions, and then follow that with a discussion of the things that come to mind when you're answering the questions. So there's no right or wrong at this point. Nobody's going to be tested, but this is just for the basis of our discussion. So let's see what we all come up with.
Is this for now?
Yes, let's work on it now, and then let's say at when the minute hands on the 8, about 5 minutes from now, I'll ask to go around the room and we'll find out what everybody's responses are to question number 1 and question number 2.
Ding.
Mayor Mills, would you like me to lead the
Yes,
discussion?
yes, please.
Okay, well, I think we'll go around the room in the order of our introductions, so I'll call everybody's name, and you could add one or more of the things that stood out to you most while you were responding to the questions. So let's start with Kate McKenzie.
Do you want me to do both questions?
Well, keep your response to be like 1 or 2 minutes, and you could either just say one thing or respond to both.
Are we going to address just question one to
Yeah,
start, or
okay, we
can
could start.
Can we do both?
I don't know, I think we could do both. Or what do you think?
Preference? One and or two?
Well, let's, maybe one at a time.
Okay, okay.
Maybe one at a time if people are taking notes and, okay. What makes Rehoboth Beach historically significant? To me, my initial thoughts were the origin was a religious retreat. I'm just going to do unless I find something that I really want to talk about, I'm just going to do bullet points. The city becoming a year-round living area. Movement of visitors from other states to come, not just the DuPonts and the Carpenters from Wilmington, but even from Washington, D.C. It's been very important how the community has changed around the boardwalk, but the boardwalk has been the mainstay of the city. It's been there, that's the place that people would go and do activities. It was, I'm trying to read my writing. Let's see, the other thing that I was going to say, it's been the mainstay of the city in their activities. Visitors would come just for the boardwalk, which has been very, very important. And the other thing that I think is significant is that it has remained with a wooden top, where you have places in New England, you have Sea Isle City in New Jersey, which is asphalt, and others where the wood is no longer wood. It's not a boardwalk anymore at all. And I think that that is significant that we have remained that way. And I know that's something that the city has been wanting to do, to keep that concept, especially with some of our gazebos and things like that. Keeps the thing. We still have the shops on the boardwalk, although and activities, but some cities also that have changed, they've moved those activities along the beach line into the city itself. So that makes it historical that we are able to remain as we are with the boardwalk being wooden. I think that's the main thing that I see.
Thank you.
I might think of more later.
Yes.
Good thinking. Rosemarie?
I took that as, I said I was a history buff. That also meant that I have been a docent giving tours of the community or the boardwalk and Art League and whatnot. So I was focusing on historically significant the role that Rehoboth Beach and the boardwalk has made in our history, the history of our nation. You can start with shipwrecks, where they have landed and what happened and why. The CCC, Colonel Corcoran from Henlopen Acres, when he started, was tapped to start the CCC chapter in Lewis so that we could eliminate mosquito water traps and that. Why do we have the Giuseppe Verenzano monument? World War II, the role of people in Rehoboth, how they had to black out, how they had to walk the beaches. I also am involved with the kiosks, and we're missing opportunities, I think, in manning it and what services we could do to promote that, not only the historical aspect, but of people come to us and we think that they know who we are or what we are, and they don't. And we have the classic, somebody came up to us one time and said, could you tell me if this the Pacific or the Atlantic? We laugh.
More
but
than
it's-
once.
It's true. Or what time does the dolphin show start? And I laugh, but there's so many historical significant opportunities that Rehoboth has played a part in as we grew and became a tourist attraction. We don't sell it enough.
Very good. Rosemary mentioned the kiosk. Everybody may not know that there's an information booth, if you will, on the boardwalk at Delaware Avenue that is manned or managed by you all, right, the VIA.
Dan, would you like to add your thoughts?
Sure. I am an outsider, but I've been in the county for a while. I know people in Rehoboth, but first thing came to me was religious community. Then it transitioned to an artist community, then a gay community, a retirement community. It's just changed, and it caps. That's what kind of makes Rehoboth unique from all the other beach towns. But and I thought about the boardwalk over time. Rebuilding it is what brings the next generation of people together to kind of become the next caretakers of it. And there was a significant African-American community, should be discussed. And then the first beach condos are here. It's like the beach life began kind of in Rehoboth.
Oh, can I say something?
Okay.
That is amazing because I ended up most of my life being in New Jersey, and we ended up with condos just like Rehoboth Beach. So anyway, it started here.
You can't even get furniture up in there just for a bag and just staying over.
Thank you. Frank?
So the first thing that occurred to me is that boardwalks in this country have traditionally been associated with the Mid-Atlantic or the Northeast. Not to say that there aren't boardwalks in other part of the country, but that's where they're concentrated. And I think it's been kind of even though it predates the 1900s, a uniquely 20th century American experience. So in the same way that you can't think of Atlantic City without thinking of the boardwalk, or at least that was true until the casinos took over, but you can't think of Rehoboth without thinking of the boardwalk. So I think the boardwalk is possibly, with the exception of the beach, the most important asset that the city has historically. It's provided outdoor recreation and entertainment dating back to the 19th century. It's been a focal point for family gatherings for over 150 years. And it's also, in terms of transportation, I think of it as the Route 66 of the beach. You can go north to south on the boardwalk and move your family or go to where your people are, and also east to west. If you're going from where you're staying to the beach, you're going to go to the east, and usually the boardwalk is going to be how you return from the beach. So in those ways, I think it's just been a consistent center of the community in terms of commerce and recreation and entertainment. And since it's been ongoing for 150 years, that by itself makes it historic.
Well said. Jim?
I agree with Frank wholeheartedly. I put down center of cultural, social, recreational, and he added entertainment, and I would add that back in too. On the economic, I think that has built up over the last several decades. And, you know, in terms of its importance, and I'm thinking now, again, of my service on the Planning Commission, of we have 2 or 3, or possibly 4 major new hotels coming in, 2 of them right on the boardwalk, right at Rehoboth Avenue. And they're going to be top drawer. So obviously, that has a dramatic impact on the economic side of things. But I think, you know, the beach is the main thing, but the boardwalk is so central to getting to the beach, as well as, you know, providing stores and restaurants, that sort of thing, all up and down the strip. So I think it, all of that together suggests that by all means, it's definitely historic.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, this is wonderful because piggybacking on each other's comments brings a lot of different thoughts, such as, you know, you're talking about the new hotels, makes me think of what Dan was saying, how each community brought a different, and maybe Frank said it too, brought a different community to the beach, each, you know, rendition of the boardwalk. So what will the new high-end hotels bring to the boardwalk is good to think about while we're doing this. Wes?
I'm not going to repeat what's been said, but I will reinforce a couple points that I also agree with everything that everyone said. But to me, in many ways, I think it boils down to the boardwalk is the reason in many ways that Rehoboth exists, because it's the place that people come to go to do everything here. When it was first created, there really wasn't much development beyond the beach blocks when the place was originally developed as a religious retreat. And I look at it as it's our town square. It went for many years, it was really the only place where everybody congregated because not everything was developed beyond that. And when it comes to the comments about the hotels and the comments about the different types of people, the use has not changed. It's just different types of hotels, different types of people. The stores are relatively similar to what was there, which makes the experience, whether you were here in 1920 or you're here in 2026, the same concept existed. You came to enjoy. It protects you from the sand, so it creates a safety element. It allows you to visit that area in a safe, protected way. And in many ways, it's the core of what economic development happened in Rehoboth because of the ability to use the beach and the boardwalk, and the businesses that are there allowed the houses, reasons for people to come stay here and then have houses. So in many ways, I see it as this driver of what makes the identity of our town. And it hasn't changed a lot in that time frame.
Thank you, Wes.
Nicely said. Andrea?
Well, ditto to everybody. Okay. I called it the centerpiece or the focal point of the city. I also have to say that I think it's the allure of the ocean. It is a safe, easy way to get to the ocean. And just to repeat, it's where we go to enjoy nature, to exercise, to meet friends, to eat, to hear music. And it's been this way for generations, and I agree. We've just all experienced, the food might be different, the bathing suits might look different, but basically the experience is the same. It's a wonderful place, I think, for families, and given the hotels, I guess that's it. But for me, it's the ocean. I have to say one more thing again as a New Englander. I love the fact that we keep replacing the wood. There's something very homey and natural, yes, as opposed to the asphalt.
I appreciate your addition of the ocean because we've really been focusing on the land part of it so far, and that's such an important feature. Wayne?
I think a preamble to why the boardwalk is there is, why is the town here? And I know of a few things. There are probably many more. One is it's a walkable beach, about a mile long or more. Goes all the way down to the Coast Guard station and up to Cape Henlopen. That's a draw. There's fresh water nearby, brings people in. It's located in a way that can be accessed by metropolitan areas. If I didn't say it, it's the highest elevation on the shore in the state of Delaware, I've been told. So it has fast land. And all that is preamble to why the beach is here to begin with, and then the boardwalk would follow. So I think it deserves a paragraph in the beginning of the analysis. What's stayed the same? I think that it's the bridge between, as has been said earlier, the water and the mercantile is very important to the thriving of the boardwalk, and making a stroll along the ocean easier than walking on the sand is a difference for many people. And the boardwalk, we haven't talked much about the street plan, but if you think of the town plan as a trumpet, the boardwalk's the head of a trumpet, and it bridges the entire area and brings the whole town down into that area. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Ryan.
Great thinking, thank you. Let's move on to Christopher's response.
Yes. I mean, these are all good comments. I have nothing else. The boardwalk is the locus of economic, cultural, and recreational activities in the city. So.
Yeah, it's hard to come at this point in the conversation.
And have
so
something
much
new to
has
say.
been
That is
said.
correct.
Michael.
So I was thinking about it from a technical standpoint of the structure is actually not historical, right? It's been replaced so many times, but that in the collective memory, it's historical. And I think that that's the main thing that's going to, for a federal designation, to really drive that home, of that the fact that the physical thing is no longer the historical element, but rather the memory of the boardwalk and what the boardwalk means to the town and how it's evolving over time, telling the story of all the storms of the town and of the area, right? And I think that that's a kind of an important thing to think about when we're thinking about a federal designation. Because at the end of the day, what's the period of significance of the boardwalk when the boardwalk is from 2010, technically, right?
Right. Well said. Mason?
I have a little just preamble here that, the boardwalk significance is not just that it's old, it has served for generations as one of the defining and culture anchors of Rehoboth Beach, closely tied to the city's development, identity, and public life. The Methodist Church retreat came around the same time as we all know. And something that I came across in research that might help us with number 2, which we haven't heard a lot about, is that the arrival of the Junction Breakwater Railroad in 1878, I'm not sure if that was actually involved with the boardwalk or not. I'm not a preservationist, and I was just brainstorming and looking for research. But, I think that to answer also what would be lost if it were gone, I think that commerce would be gone, and it would lose the stability of the town.
Great, thank you. Mayor Mills? I think that, given that it's 11 o'clock, we'll listen to your response, and then I have a few thoughts, and then we'll call it a day.
That'll be fine. Ditto. Honestly, you know, I put stuff down before you all said it, so, but, literally, I'm just going to say ditto. You know, the center of attention, for me, it was the most biggest thing on there. And then the draw of visitors to the hotels and store patronage and everything. But I think we'll work together and type up a combined list.
Yeah, and I would like to just add one thing, thinking in a similar line as Andrea about the ocean and that awesome vista, that undisturbed expanse, which has been the main attraction for centuries, and thinking about, you know, even art history, that romantic painting era, like the Hudson River School, those, you know, huge, awesome natural landscapes we have, and that is the thing that never changes, and that the boardwalk has sort of been the frame for that picture for us over all that time. So regardless of whether it has the same planks or architecture, like what Michael was saying, it's the memory of that place that the boardwalk has framed since 1873 when the first boards were laid. So thank you all for that great thinking, and I'll turn it over to Mayor Mills now.
All right, so we'll work together and compile all this, and we'll take it up again at the next meeting. I'm not say we'll start the meeting with that, but we'll bring that up. Yes, Jim.
I just had to follow up a little bit. First of all, nobody really discussed what would be lost if it were gone, because I don't think it's ever going to be gone. But I'm finding an interesting play here between the term historical and what clearly is cultural, and it may be something that we need to keep in mind. Because I think cultural is very, very important, and most of our comments really address that. So that's all.
Sounds good, sounds good. Go to the orders, anybody? Are we anxious to get out of here? I'm holding everything up. Let's see, the last things on the agenda. Task force comments is an opportunity if you have anything you want to say, anybody? If not, then citizen comment. That's you, Mark. Would you identify yourself in relationship to the city?
And you won't need the 3 minutes. There we go. I can just talk loud. No, I can. Thank you, thank you. I just want to thank everybody. As a stakeholder and a citizen and a resident, I think what you're doing is really important. And if I may just take 1 minute to tell a story. Prior to moving to Rehoboth, my husband and I had a house at Slaughter Beach. And when we bought our house at Slaughter Beach, one of the first things we noticed as we walked along the beach, a mile in either direction, was the remnants of what used to be a wooden boardwalk. You'd see 4 or 5 boards, and then you'd see an occasional pier. And I have to tell you, it was like walking through a graveyard. And talking to some of the old timers there, we found out that during a storm, maybe back in the 60s, maybe it was the same time as the 1962 storm that hit us, that boardwalk was wiped away, wiped off the face. And the residents there decided it wasn't worth replacing. And to this day, Slaughter Beach, I don't have to say it, but who do you know that goes there for their wedding? So at any rate, what you're doing is important, and I just want to say thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. As I mentioned earlier, we have to take minutes. Somebody has to take, I'm going to do them for this meeting. Is there anybody that would like to be the secretary or alternate secretary here?
I'll think about it.
You'll think about it, okay. So, and will somebody do an alternate think also? So we'll see. So be in touch with me. Thanks for reminding me, Frank. With that, there being no further business, I adjourn this meeting at 11:05 a.m. Thank you very much.